Please do leave your comments in the chat box. Actually, it's not a chat box, it's really more of a comment box. So leave your comments if you have specific questions. If you like what we're doing here, leave that as well. If you are experiencing improvements, or if you just feel more inspired now as a result of these weekly broadcasts, leave that. It's really important for not just me to know that you're watching and that you're benefiting, but it's important for other people to know that other people are watching and benefiting, even if it's a little bit. You don't need to see major benefits in order to get the results from what we're doing. Sometimes, in fact, many times, all it takes is just little benefits, little forward movements, little improvements, incremental ones that get us going. So please do leave your comments. Like this, follow this, and share this with your friends, family, or coworkers. This is nothing to be ashamed of. As I mentioned to you before, my focus really is not on stuttering treatment. So this isn't like, I'm a therapist and I'm treating you. And there's nothing wrong with therapists, because we all need them at one point or another in life. But this is really about high performance training. What I'm actually helping you do is go from wherever you are to excellent speech, to becoming an excellent speaker, that is, to being able to command an audience. So this is training that anyone could go through, whether they stutter or not. I've just chosen to focus on those folks that have struggled with the same thing that I used to struggle with, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're right around 12:30 now. I hope that you can hear me okay. Let me just... Yes, I believe you can. Last week, we talked about the A, the first part of the A in the D.A.M strategy. And the A stood for what? It stood for affirm your new speaking style. Affirm your new speaking style. And what that means is, it means that you have to be able to start to tell yourself, right? Because we all talk to ourselves. We all have thoughts. So you need to be able to tell yourself that you are either becoming an excellent speaker, that you're starting to speak more smoothly, more fluently, and more confidently, or you can tell yourself that you are an excellent speaker. So you can either say, I'm becoming, or I am. You might start off saying, I'm becoming, and then graduate later to I am. So we discussed a very specific formula that you should use when formulating your affirmations. And affirmations are critically important. They're not the only thing. Now, some people just try to get away with doing affirmations because it's the easiest thing to do for many. But for you, I want you to be better than that, because some people just do the affirmations and they don't get the results they're looking for. But there is a specific formula that I want you to use for affirmations, and I'll just briefly go over that again. It's called the 3P formula, so you've probably heard of it before. And the first P stands for present tense, and a word that we can use for present tense in this sense is what? Would be I, right? And then it's a positive statement, right? So it's a present tense, it's a positive, and it's first person. So first person, present tense, and positive. First person would be I, present tense would be am, I am, and positive would be an excellent speaker. Or you could say, I speak smoothly. I am right now speaking smoothly. Okay? So those are the 3 Ps. I got them a little out of order, but those are the 3 Ps, right? So it's first person, and it is present tense, I am, or I am becoming. And it is also positive statement. And remember, some people want to say, I don't stutter anymore, or I'm stuttering less, or something like that. You don't want to say that. That doesn't really work. You want to use this particular format. Now, often what I will do is I will also use second person. I'll say you. You are an excellent. So I'll say that to myself. You're an excellent speaker. You're doing great here. So if you're in a situation where you're starting to feel kind of bad and you're not performing as well as you would like, you can give yourself a good talking to by saying, you know what, you can do this. You're an excellent speaker. You can speak smoothly, right? So you can use you as well. It's very, very effective. This week, though, we're going to talk about the 4 Ps. And this week, we're specifically going to look at taking action on your affirmations. So you have an affirmation, you've been telling yourself this, and remember, you need to do this at least twice a day, right? Once a day is great, but I now recommend doing these affirmations twice a day. Once in the morning, when your brain, your mind is fresh, and once in the evening, when you're going to sleep. And there are some very specific reasons that I get into in the Pro 90D speech system, the actual course, the program. I go into the reasons why, but you want to do it twice a day. Now, I want you to take action on those affirmations. Okay, so action, this is where the rubber meets the road, is when you actually take action. So what I've done is divided this up into 4 very specific steps that you can take to take action, 4 very specific steps. And I'll start with the P. And I'm going to just move the camera a little bit. And don't worry if you don't see them, because they're going to be documented in the blog and in some of the things that I post, so you will be able to see them there. But the first P is to pattern yourself after someone who speaks well. So the first P is for you to pattern yourself. Now, the first thing that you have to do is you have to pick someone. You have to pick someone. So we could add another P on here, and we can call it the 5 Ps. You pick a model. Okay, in fact, I am going to go ahead and add the other P because it's kind of important. So let's say you pick a model. Okay, you pick a model. And what's a model? A model is someone that you admire the way they speak. But usually it can't just be someone that you like the way they speak, but you also have to admire their integrity, maybe what you know of their personality, what you know of their belief system and what they're doing. They don't have to be in the same religion as you, right? But you have to admire them as a person as well as the way they speak. The reason is, you're not just going to pick a model. In fact, I need to add the L here, right? You're not just going to pick a model. You're also going to pattern yourself, pattern your speech, particularly. Pattern your speech after this model. So you find someone, you like the way they speak, and you begin to pattern your speech after theirs. That is, you model their speech. You literally mimic, you imitate the way they speak. This is very, very important. Why? Let me give you a few reasons why. 1, this is the fastest way to fluent speech, if you just model someone else. Many actors will report, actors especially who stutter or who have stuttered, they've reported that when they're acting they don't stutter. And I've talked about this before, but one of the reasons why is because they're changing their persona for that particular time. They're changing who they believe they are and how they believe they speak. So they're taking on another character, okay, changing their persona, their character. What I'm asking you to do is use the same process of literally distracting yourself from yourself. So taking the focus off of you and thinking about, well, I usually stutter here, I'm going to stutter over here, I've never been able to speak here, I've been stuttering for 20 years. Take your focus, your thoughts off of that and focus on your model who speaks well, who's an excellent speaker, and literally pretend to be your model when you're speaking. And if you do that, in most cases, magically your speech gets better. It's almost like magic. So by pretending by mimicking, by modeling the person that you're modeling, you're going to find that your speech gets better faster. Okay? So you pattern yourself after your model, right? So you have to, in order to do that, you have to study your model and you have to do some other things, all of which I go into complete detail and in a systematic way in the Pro 90D speech system. Okay? But I'm just giving you the outline right here, and there have been people who've used this information and dramatically improved their speech. There have been other people that needed something a little more detailed and systematic, and that's the purpose of the course. Now, this next P is to prepare a presentation. Prepare a presentation. Now, why presentation? It's much easier for you to pattern yourself after someone and to speak fluently when you are presenting than it is when you are conversing. Conversing is generally a little more difficult because it's more dynamic and it has to do with timing. But this translates, it transfers over. And I have examples of people who, boom, they've translated the new speaking style over into their conversations. And it takes a lot of focus and concentration, but I'm telling you it can be done. Not just it can be done, but you will be able to do it. You just have to focus, you have to concentrate. So, prepare a presentation, right? So what you want to do then is you want to go ahead and find someone that has enough content for you to study where you can just go ahead and memorize one of their presentations or part of it, 3 to 5 minutes of one of their presentations. So what I do in my coaching is I encourage people to go ahead and model me, just because it's easier, because I have lots of video, lots of audio, lots of content, and in our coaching sessions, they actually get to see me in conversation. So it's not just me talking, but we're conversing. So they get to see how do I speak when I converse. And I always have to say, I don't have them model me because I believe I'm the greatest speaker in the world. It's just that it's easier, it's better, it's faster for them to model me, in part because I'm modeling the skills that I want them to learn as well, okay? So I have people model me, and I have them pick some or several of my presentations, and one by one we go through and have them memorize them, and then practice them, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Practice them and then present them, okay? So you prepare a presentation. Prepare a presentation. You can memorize someone else's presentation, or you can prepare your own, keeping that person in mind as a model. What's the next thing that we do? After we prepare a presentation, then we want to practice it. Very, very simple. This is very simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very simple. You pick someone to model. You pattern yourself after that person. That is, you have to study. In order to pattern yourself after someone, you have to study them. And there's something that I call micro-modeling, right, where you study how that person moves their face, their hands, their inflections, and all of those things. You pattern yourself after that person. You prepare a presentation. You take one of theirs, or you prepare one of your own. Remember, presentations are much easier for you to work on and develop a new speaking style than in conversations. Okay? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to have you create a new speaking style. And the fastest way to do that is through presentations via modeling. Okay? Next, you practice the presentation. Now, once again, this whole action part is where the rubber meets the road, but this is where the rubber really meets the road. It's the practice. It's the one thing that some people don't want to do, or they don't want to do a lot of, or they do it periodically or sporadically. But this is the one thing, and I survey my clients. I survey my clients that do really well, and what I find is that they spend at least an hour a day, almost every day, 6-7 days a week, at least an hour a day, doing intensive modeling and practicing. And they try to use their new speaking style every time they speak. Now, initially they fail. Initially it doesn't really work well, but they keep trying it. And guess what? Gradually they start to speak more smoothly, fluently, and confidently in their new style progressively. So gradually they begin to do it more and more. They start becoming more and more successful at it. That comes from practice. Practicing what, you say, Michael? Practicing the presentation. And also the skills that you learn from the presentation, right? The style that you're creating, the inflecting, the extending, all those skills that I teach in the Pro 90D speech system, all those skills, they start to practice them in their what? Everyday conversation. Now, initially it's probably not going to work, or it may not work well, or it may not work as long as you like. But it's just like learning a new language. If you want to learn a new language and you want to become totally fluent in that language, you have to do virtually the same things I'm asking you to do. You literally have to immerse yourself. You have to practice, you have to listen, you have to watch someone, you have to learn vocabulary, which in this case you only have to learn a little bit of vocabulary. And then you have to go out and use that new language. And what that means is that means failing sometimes. It means making mistakes. So having to translate in your head. It means all those kinds of things. But if you do it more and more, then what happens? You become more and more fluent. So you have to practice. And then finally, you have to actually go out and present the information. Again, don't worry about if you can't see that very clearly, because it's all going to be laid out in the written little guide document that I'm going to be sending you. But you have to present the information, right? You have to go out. In fact, let me write that up here because you might not be able to see it, but you can hear it. You have to present the information. So who do you present it to? You present it first by yourself. You videotape yourself. You study the videotape. You compare the videotape with your models. You go back and forth. You try to correct it. This is what's very tedious, right? But it's absolutely necessary. So you try to perfect it. Try to perfect it. Then you present to family or friends. Someone says, well, I don't have any family or friends. Well, then you go out and you present it to a group of people that you feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable presenting it. But you have to go out and you have to present it to someone outside of yourself, right? And so the best way to do this is to present it to someone within your circle, people that you might feel more comfortable with. You feel most comfortable probably with yourself, and then you feel probably maybe a little more comfortable with the video camera, maybe not as comfortable as with just by yourself, but you'll feel a little more comfortable with your video camera than maybe you do someone else. Then the next step is you present it to family or friends. Then you present to strangers or people that maybe you're not as comfortable with. So it's a progression. It's a progression. And some of you will be thrown into this because you're working, you're professionals, or you're in college and you have to present. So you're going to have to use this, right? So what do? You present it over and over and over again. There's no other way. There's no shortcuts. You have to take what you've been learning, take that new speaking style, and you got to go out there and you got to use it in the real world. You can do it progressively, meaning you can start out a little bit at a time, kind of within your comfort zone, pressing that comfort zone a little more each time. Do it by yourself, do it with some friends, and do it with someone. But ultimately, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to present whatever it is that you're doing in public to someone. What did I do? I took my models, I created some presentations from my models. I took information that they had, created some presentations, practiced it, recorded myself. Back then, video cameras were out, but they were very expensive, so I used audio. Recorded the audio, kept doing that over and over, went out, found local colleges who would let me come in for free and give these presentations. And I would speak for like 45 minutes straight, never stuttering, because I had mastered this new style. I had mastered my model. So when I went out and when I stood up to speak to these college kids, I was my model, right? It wasn't Michael Williams any longer. It was my model. I found things that my model did and said, hand movements, posture, face, things that he would say, little slangs or whatever, and I would just copy that and it would make me feel. It's very important. You have to feel like your model when you're speaking. Okay? So pick a model, pattern yourself after the model, prepare a presentation, practice it, present it in real life. Now, let's just slide back over here again. So, what have we talked about today? Just want to check my time. Got a couple more minutes because I really want to try to stick to the 20 minutes, 22 minutes or something like that. We talked about a systematic way for you to improve your speech, and that is the 4 or 5 Ps. You pick someone to model. That's the fastest way to fluency. You pattern yourself after that person, right? So you study them and you pretend when you're speaking to be that person. You can't just memorize what they've said and try to model that way. You literally have to become that person. You have to almost change your character in a sense. You have to change your persona when you're speaking. Not just in presentations, but you want to bring this over in conversations as well. You want to try to bring this over in conversation. So you pick a model, pattern yourself, prepare a presentation or a series of presentations, practice the presentations. You can do all the other ones, but if you don't practice it, guess what? Not going to work, right? And then you present it. You present it in your comfort zone by yourself. You present it to the camera. You can use your phone to do that. Then you present it to people that you're comfortable with. Then you present it to people that you're less comfortable with. And what I always recommend people, after they've been working on this for a few weeks, a month, maybe 6 weeks, to go out and get into a Toastmasters, but only after you are consistently able to present well. I don't recommend doing it before then, because you don't want to build negative speaking situations. So you want to make sure that you're ready. You don't have to be perfect, you just need to be ready. So with my private intensive coaching clients, usually this happens after 4 to 6 weeks or so. So you have to get out there and you got to use this new speaking style. And transferring it into conversation is difficult, but not impossible. The reason it's not impossible is because you have to be constantly focused and aware of how you're speaking whenever you open your mouth. Just as if you're learning a new language. If you're learning a new language, you have to be aware of how you're speaking. Or else you're going to revert back to what? To your old language. So, if you wanted to learn a second language and you wanted to make it your first language, you'd have to focus on your speech for an extended period of time. This is the same thing. Now, if you didn't want to learn, or if you didn't care, or if you just wanted to get to a moderate level, then you might get to a certain level and stop. Your proficiency would stop at a certain level. So some people, their proficiency in speech gets to a certain level, and then they just kind of stop. I want you to become an excellent speaker, and I know you do too. So you're going to have to stay focused on this for as long as it takes. And I see people do it inside of about 4 months, right? They are way up into the 90s. And when I say 90s, I'm talking about way up into the 90% fluency. So they've gone from wherever they were to virtually all the time, or let's just say most of the time, way up into the 90s, speaking smoothly, fluently, confidently. That is saying what they want to say, when they want to say it, how they want to say it. You can do it. You can do it. So I want to encourage you to watch this video, read the little article that basically lays out exactly what I've said here. And I also want to encourage you that when you're ready to take that next step, we got a couple of options for you. I'm saying 3 because there's a new one coming. One is definitely get into the ABCs course. That's the basic course and it's free. Watch the 21 steps, okay? But go ahead and invest your time, and yes, it costs money, in the Pro 90D speech system. It is the best in the world. for helping you move from wherever you're at now to excellent speech, to becoming smoother, more fluent, more confident. That is to being able to stand in front of an audience, to handle folks on the phone, to being able to command yourself in meetings, video conferencing, phone conferencing, presentations, whatever you need to do. That program, that system is designed to help you do it. So it's not just designed to help you, reduce your stuttering or minimize your stuttering or so that you can just get by. It's designed to help you become better than the average person in speaking. And you can do it. So I want you to click on the link or go visit my website and look for courses, and it's right there. It's a small investment for many people, but it's a big investment in your life. You're not investing in me, you're investing in yourself. So go ahead, get that course if you're ready to take the next step. Some of you will want private intensive coaching. You can take that step. I'm also going to be having a mobile application for the iPhone coming out soon, and much of my content will be there, and I'll also be coming out with the Pro 90D Speech System 3.0. If you're enrolled in 2.0, you're automatically going to get the 3.0. So go ahead and do that now. It's an investment in yourself. All right. If you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to leave them. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I hope this has been beneficial for you, and I'll see you in the next session.